Include your microphone audio. Did you do it, TNW?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, hello?
Hello.
Alright, awesome. Okay. So, hey guys, welcome. So, this is going to be my first recorded discussion I'm going to put on my channel, and I am with TWN Logan. So, what I really wanted to do with this channel was to record discussions specifically on Xbox, right? Because that's just sort of the community that I've always kind of grown up with online. Not really much of a Discord person. I was like, I might also record Xbox party discussions. Um, so me and him, we're talking about morality and logic. We are both Christians, at least we both claim to be, right? And so I believe in objective morality, and I also believe in subjective morality. I believe both can coexist. I don't believe one eliminates the other. So Logan, what's your view?
I believe that you were literally just disagreeing with me that logic exists without a moral logic ever. And I'm gonna tell them about that. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
evidence
okay.
that supports
So
your claim.
okay, yeah. So I don't. So Logan was asking me a question on do atheists need to justify logic? I was saying no. The reason why I said no is because logic is just the tool of thinking. So when you ask for a justification for logic, the statement claim of a justification is logic. So you're just asking logic for logic. You're using the tool of rational thinking of the study of things, right, to ask for an explanation of the study of things. So you're just asking logic is logic. That's basically it. Um, it's like if I say a justification is just a logical explanation. And then I ask for, well, what's the justification of a justification? I'm just saying that a logical explanation is a logical
You
explanation.
describe it in a way that people will actually understand.
Yeah, okay, so
'Cause I
Logan,
have
what
no clue what
okay,
you're saying right now.
Logan,
You're
do
saying a
you
bunch of big words that I don't know.
okay, I'll break it down for you and the people who ever watch this, if even if they do or not. Okay. So a justification is a logical explanation of something, of why it is the case or how it is the case, right? That's what a justification is, right? And so Logan asked me before this recording started saying, "Do atheists need to give a justification
No,
for logic?"
I
I said
didn't ask
no.
that at all.
Okay,
I
what did you
said there
ask?
is no logic without God from a theistic worldview. Like your worldview is a theist because you believe there's a God, right? And you're orthodox on top of that, which they believe that logic is created by God,
Well, yeah, but that's
which it
different
is.
from do you need a justification for logic? That's a
I
different
never once
thing.
said that. You're the one that
What are
brought
you implying
justification
then?
into the argument. I said without God, there's not logic. That was my whole claim,
In
and
what
you said nope,
sense?
nope, nope, nope.
In what sense
From a
are you
theistic worldview, there is not logic without a God.
yeah, if God isn't real, people still have logic.
Well, no, I believe that God invented logic.
I also agree with you on that. I
Okay,
don't
then
just
how can there be logic without God? If God invented it, right? So, like, for example, somebody invented the light bulb,
It's not
right?
what I'm
And
saying.
without that person, the light bulb wouldn't exist.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm saying God is the
but you said if God
explan
wasn't
I'm
here, then there would still be logic.
yeah,
Break it down.
God is the explanation of logic, right? From a theistic standpoint, and I hold to that. It's not like I don't hold to that. But what I'm saying is, if God isn't real, hypothetically, like a compositional, a part truth, or like if it's like
Well, no,
95% true
God
that
is
if it's
real.
95% true that God's real, and there's 5% chance that it's false,
It just says
and
king,
then
brother. I don't know.
I'm talking. Hold on, wait. I'm not gonna talk that long. And that 5% chance of God being false is actually true in reality, and God isn't real, then guess what? Logic still exists from the mind. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you, right? That God is
Okay,
the
explain it
justification
to me
of
that, like,
logic.
from an atheist point of view, where they don't believe in God, right? Well, that's what atheist is, right? They do not believe in God, correct? I'm not wrong.
I mean,
How can logic exist?
there's different types of atheists. A basic atheist definition is just somebody who isn't convinced of a God.
Agnosticism, right, believes that they don't care, or they're not going to look, or there might be a God, there's just not enough evidence.
No, it just
right?
means they don't know.
Exactly.
There are some atheists who think that there's a possibility that God's real, but they're just not
means
convinced.
I believe in God. A means not, right? There's not God. There's not God. That's what atheism is.
Okay, let me just.
Without God, right? God just leaves, right? There's no God.
That would be an absolute atheist. There's atheists and there's absolute atheists. An absolute atheist would say 100% there is no God. An atheist would just say, I don't believe there is a God currently because there's no evidence supporting it. So they believe that there's a possibility that God's real, but they're just not convinced of a current God. That's just a basic atheist definition. The atheist that you're thinking of is called an absolute atheist. They think that it's 100% true that there is no God.
Okay. I'm literally just going to tell you the definition of atheist. So A, meaning without in Greek, right? And theos in Greek for God, right? Without God. That's what atheist
means. That is
without God.
It just means that the person is without God. They don't believe in a God. Because they are without a God. They don't, in their mind, they don't believe in a God. They don't believe there is a God.
There's like a positive atheism that believes there is no God, right? And then there's a weak atheism that you were talking about, like the non-absolute atheism that believes there is no God because there's not enough evidence supporting the fact that there is a God.
Yeah, that's basic atheism. The thing you're talking about is an absolute atheist.
That there's no God.
Yeah, but they differ.
Yeah, I never said they didn't. I said that they both share the common thing of atheism, which is without God. They don't believe there's a God. You're like, brother,
I understand that.
All I'm saying is without God, there's no logic. Without the inventor, there's no invention. That's my whole point. And you're disagreeing. Okay,
I'm gonna lay down. I'm gonna lay down my view so there's no misunderstanding. So I believe that there is objective morality. I believe there's subjective morality. I believe in the Bible God. I believe in the Christianity God. I currently hold to Oriental Orthodox specifically, right? And I believe that God is he's the causation of logic. So he caused it, right? He caused it.
Okay,
and
so without God,
wait, I'm not done. Wait, I'm not done. Wait, I'm not done with my view. Wait, let me give my view. Wait, let me give my view so there's no misunderstanding. So God caused logic, right? But nobody needs to give a justification for logic. You don't need to give a justification for logic. Atheists don't need to give a justification for logic because when you say justification, that's a logical question. So when you say, hey, what's the justification for logic? You're just saying what's the logical conclusion for logic. You're just using logic for logic. A justification is just a logical explanation of how something is or how it is the case.
You're literally taking everything that I said and just throwing it.
No, I'm not talking about your view. I'm giving you my view.
God. Well, you're saying logic is logic and logic is justification is logic. That doesn't make fucking sense, bro.
Okay, what do you take justification as? What do you take justification as?
What do I think justification is?
Yeah.
I never said that it was justification at all.
You said that before the stream started. You asked me what's the justification.
I never did.
For logic
without God.
That's what you said before the stream started.
Brother, you're lying.
I'm not lying.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Why is your pride getting in the way?
I'm not.
Of an actual debate?
You're accusing me of lying. I'm not lying.
100% you are. You said I said justification.
That's okay. Okay, so let's use this recording to see really who's lying. How about we erase everything we talked about before the stream started? So go ahead.
What do you mean, go ahead?
I'm saying,
my
claim
claim has been stated 4 times. You can go back on a little live stream and look. My claim has been stated 4 times.
Oh my! I'm referring to the previous conversation.
Without God, there's no logic. Without God, there's no logic. Without God, there's no logic.
Okay, in what sense? In what sense? In what sense?
Because there can't be logic without a logic giver. There can't be an invention without an inventor.
Okay.
Brother,
Tell me if you
What?
agree with me or disagree with me. I'm gonna say
You're an
something. Right?
Orthodox. You're supposed to be agreeing with me.
It's not binding nor it's true.
Yes.
So tell me if you agree with me on this, right? So
Okay.
I give you two worlds. World one, there is God, and He's the ruler of that world. World two,
Okay.
there is no God. Are you saying
Okay.
that in World two, it's impossible for it to have logic, but it can only happen in World one? Is that what you're saying when you say that, or are you saying something else?
I'm saying without God, there can't be logic from a theistic worldview. Not an atheistic worldview, a theistic worldview, which is me and your worldview.
I understand that, but like, can you answer the World one and World two question, please?
There can't be logic on World 2.
Okay. But
Or whatever world that doesn't have God.
what if the world too has people that can think and make conclusions based on reality and stuff? Would that not be logic?
Called sustainability. For example, if we had a world, hypothetically, as you like to live in your hypothetical world here, hypothetically speaking, it's good, right? It's not moral. It's literally just good to not kill people because you can hunt back with them, right? It's also good to kill inferior races in that world just because, like, they're not they're not as good as you and they're not as built for the environment as you. So why would you breed with them? Like, logic dies, brother. It dies without a God. Logic can't exist without a logic giver. Because humans didn't create logic. God did.
Okay.
And you agree with that statement. You told me earlier. You can look back in your own debate and see that you agree with that statement. You're fighting yourself and the Bible at this point. I can read verses to you that say that logic comes from God. Like, I don't know what your
I don't
disagreement is
disagree
here.
with you that. Oh my
Okay, then
goodness.
what's your disagreement? Please tell me.
I agree. Okay. I agree with you that logic comes from God. I agree with you on that. But I
Okay,
think it's
debate over.
possible.
Thank God.
Listen,
Oh my, thank
no,
the
it's
Lord.
not. No, it's not because it's not.
You
Because
literally
I
just
said
said
after. It's not. I laid down my view. I said I agree with you that God causes logic. I said that multiple times in my stream.
Yeah.
And I'm saying right now, I agree with you on that, right? So God causes logic. I agree with you on that. But I think that if God isn't real, right? If that belief
And
is
then, what's,
true,
what's your
and me
stream
and you
called?
are.
Please tell me.
Wait,
I
I'll
really
tell
just
you.
want to go into it. And, like,
I'll tell
I
you
really
after
just want to
this.
go into it.
I'll tell you after this. Wait. If God causes logic, I agree with that. But if God is false, then logic still exists. That's all I was saying. That's the whole
Okay,
disagreement
so
me
how
and
does
you are
God
having on.
cause logic, right? How does God cause logic?
I can tell you
Like,
how.
someone causes the light bulbs to be in our room, right? But without them, the light bulbs don't exist. But without them, the light bulbs do exist. Like, how does that make sense, man? Please tell me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. God is eternal, right?
Yeah.
God always had logic within himself, right? That's why he's a logical being. He cannot do something illogical. He can't make a square circle because a square circle is illogical. It's not a thing. God can only do a thing. He can't do
Yeah,
something
I completely agree with you.
that's not a thing. So God always had logic within himself as he is eternal, and he actually eternally caused it, right?
Yeah.
And so, right, I agree
So
with you
without
that
God,
God causes logic, but I think that if the idea of the Christian God being false, if that was true, if somebody was to grant that, then logic would still exist. It just wouldn't be caused by a God. It would just be a tool of the brain of thinking. That's all. That's all I was saying. I wasn't disagreeing with you that God is the cause of
I believe
logic.
that there cannot be logic without God. That's my view.
Okay, so what do you take as logic?
But your definition of logic was a tool of thinking. I've already told you what I think of logic.
Well, I mean, we're streaming now, so I'm asking you.
Oh,
What's
okay.
yeah?
Logic is the study of a correct reasoning.
Like an objectively true, correct reasoning, or like or just like something that you consider to be true.
No, objectively true. So, like, it's universally true.
Okay, is gravity objectively real?
Well, gravity's a fact. So yes,
Okay.
and it's
So in
universally true.
okay. So in World 2, if God isn't real in World 2 and human beings can jump on the ground and then the gravity pulls them down on the earth and then
Well, God isn't a scientific being.
then they
God isn't
study
scientific.
and then they
Did
wait
you
wait
disagree with the Bible? You don't
wait
even
and
disagree with me, dude. You disagree with the Bible.
and then you can
God
say
isn't
that and then
scientific.
they study that the earth is the gravity and the earth and all that is pulling the person down, right? And then they believe that, you know what, gravity is real, right? Even from your own definition, that would mean that logic exists in the mind for those people on World 2. That's what it would mean.
Okay, but does everybody in that world believe that?
It wouldn't really matter if they did or didn't. If
Okay,
they
so now you're saying that logic isn't universal. You disagree with
where
the
did I say
mainstream.
that? Where did I say
Well,
that? I said
it
it
doesn't
didn't
really matter
matter.
if they believe in it.
Yeah, because it would
Then
still
it's
be
not
it would still
universal.
be it would still
So
be
therefore it's not
objectively it would
logic.
still be objectively true, right? That gravity's real.
Well, logic is philosophical, not scientific. But continue.
That's a non sequitur. Okay. So
What's that? What does that mean? A
and I'll
non-sequitur.
I'll define a non sequitur. A non sequitur
Thank you.
is something, no problem. A non sequitur is something that doesn't follow from a logical conclusion. So if I say premise 1, I'm a human being. Premise 2, I'm in my room. Premise 3, I have my Xbox. Premise 4, I'm talking to T&W Logan on Xbox. Conclusion, I'm not on my Xbox. Like that thing, I'm not on my Xbox. I'm not in my room. I'm not in my TV. That thing, that's something that doesn't follow from the premises. That's something
You
that
just
is a false
listen, man. All I'm
conclusion.
saying is you don't even disagree with me. You just disagree with all theists. Because all
That's not
theists believe without God there can't be logic.
atheist. Just means somebody who believes in God. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that
Exactly.
you had. Okay, but I believe in God, so I'm a theist by your definition.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can't say that I'm not a theist. That would mean I'm a theist.
I said you just disagree with theists. So you therefore you disagree with
am I still a
yourself.
theist?
Yes. Like I know
Okay.
plenty of atheists that disagree with atheists. They're still atheists.
Okay, I'm okay with disagreeing
I know
with other.
plenty of football players that disagree with football
I'm
players, but they're
okay
still
with
football
disagreeing with other theists. I don't really have a problem with that in my worldview. It's just like how
Can I read a
there.
verse though to you?
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead.
So hold on. 1 Corinthians 14:33. God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. Think about what that means for a second, okay? And then I can tell you.
Yeah, he's a logical God.
Logic exists because God is logical and made logical universe.
I agree with that.
Okay. So therefore, how can a logical universe exist without a God that created it as a logical universe?
Yeah, it's simple. Because
But you disagree with it.
I don't disagree with the verse. What? How did you even get the conclusion? I said
What I'm
I
saying,
said I
you're
said I
saying that
agree
it's simple.
to the
You're
verse.
simple. It's simple. It can't, right? Is that your answer? Please tell me it is, because if it is, then I'm just gonna go play Rust. You're wasting my time.
All right, everybody. This person's name is TWN space Logan. He makes posts saying debate me on anything. Now he's saying he's just gonna leave the party. Okay.
I'm gonna go play Rust.
Yeah,
leave the party
you're gonna leave the discussion, even though you were begging me for one, right?
Begging you for one. I joined and asked you what your views are.
Yeah, I joined saying, hey, I just want to listen. You were like, no, we gotta have a discussion. I was like, okay, let's have a discussion. Let me stream it. That's what happened. And I told you that I was also a conservative, and you're like, I just want to have a discussion, so I did that. Now you're saying that you're gonna leave.
Well, yeah, because you disagree with yourself.
I don't disagree with myself.
Can you do me a favor, bro? Like, on a real note, pull out your phone right now and look it up. Is logic God's invention from a theistic worldview? And just look at it.
I don't disagree with that.
I
don't disagree with anything you just said.
Okay, then why are we debating this topic?
Because you keep disagreeing with me on that that what's it called? You keep
Logic
disagreeing with me on that. You
God?
keep disagreeing with me on it in before the stream started, that if World 2, right? If World 2 that if there is no God, then logic wouldn't exist. I'm telling you logic would exist. It just wouldn't be caused by God. But I believe that God caused logic. But I'm saying that if God isn't real, if he isn't true, right, logic would still exist. It just wouldn't be the explanation of a God. It would just be the explanation of something that we don't know or just something else. That's all it means. That's the disagreement me and you are having. You're saying that in every possible world for World 2, logic would not exist 100%. That's the disagreement we're having. I'm saying it would exist in World 2. You're saying nope,
How?
it's impossible for it to exist in World 2.
Like, let me ask you a question. How would logic exist in a world 2 where there's no God?
Alright. So your definition of logic was just the study of truth, and then you define truth as something that's objectively real or objectively true.
I'm really gonna enjoy watching your stream again.
Yeah. So in World 2, right? In World 2. In this hypothetical, if they study gravity, right? And they come to like the basic Isaac Newton theory of gravity, right? And they believe that gravity is real, that means that they're studying something that's objectively real. And so that would fit for your definition of logic, just the study of an objective truth. So if they're studying gravity and gravity is objectively true, right? That means that logic exists in World 2. That's all it means. So meaning that logic would still be real without the Christian God. It would just be caused by something else. So yeah, that's my case for that if God isn't real, logic would still exist in World 2. So what would be your rebuttal to that?
All I'm saying, man, is you don't even disagree with you're just disagreeing with yourself. Earlier, like maybe 2 minutes ago, while you were streaming, it's on your stream. Can I get your like Twitch name so I can go back and watch it? Cause it's like actually hilarious.
Okay.
You're disagreeing with yourself.
You don't have a rebuttal for what I just said, but yeah, here's my Twitch user. It's P lowercase p a r a d I g m l e n s. Paradigm lens, no spaces, all lowercase. I could spell it again for you if you want.
You said what?
Okay, the word paradigm.
P-A-R-A paradigm?
Yeah, P A R A D I G M L E N S. Do you want me to spell it again if you didn't get it? It's gonna say, I don't know why it says Black Ops 6. I'm on Black Ops 3, but it's gonna say Call of Duty Black Ops 6 with 1 viewer. At least on my screen it says that, even though I'm on Black Ops 3. I don't know why it's doing that.
Give me 1 second.
But
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Would a light bulb exist without the light bulb inventor? Yes or no?
I would say no.
Okay, so if God created logic, would logic exist without God?
Yeah, this is something else from a light bulb. Because I showed you in World 2 that logic would still exist, right? Without like a theistic God. I showed you in World 2 that was possible. So the light bulb hypothetical analogy, wouldn't work with logic. So I agree with you that God causes logic, right? But I think that, and I think that if God isn't real, logic would still exist. So I'm not I'm not saying you set this by the way. I'm just saying this for certain. So I'm not disagreeing with you that God caused logic. All I'm saying is God did cause logic, but if it's the case that the person who causes logic isn't real, logic would still exist. And then I gave my World 2, I gave World 1, there is a God and people have logic. In World 2, there is no God.
Alright, I just looked up something.
People
I'm gonna look
can
up
think.
something.
Then I showed that logic was possible in World 2.
Hey, Cypher, can you repeat everything you just said?
Me?
Of course, Logan. Here's what I said. In a theist worldview, especially ones like Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, logic wouldn't exist without God. The reason is that God is seen as the foundation of all reality. That includes not just abstract things like logic, truth, and morality. Logic in this view flows from God's own nature. Since God is perfectly rational and unchanging, the laws of logic, like something can't be both true and false at the same time, are just reflections of who God is. They're not created by him like a planet, but they also don't exist apart from him. They exist because he exists. So if there were no God, the theist would say there'd be no ultimate grounding for logic. It might just be seen as a man-made system, or something that works, but not something that has to be true everywhere, always. There's even a style of argument called presuppositional apologetics that says this. You can't make sense of logic, reason, or truth unless you already assume God exists, because he's the only reason those things make sense. Want me to explain?
Are you trying to use an AI to, like, debate me, or I'm really confused? I'm asking, I'm not accusing.
Oh, gotcha. So if he's a theist but thinks logic could exist independently of God, even on another planet or world, then his view might be slipping towards something more like Platonism, where abstract things like logic or math exist on their own, eternally, without needing a source like God. But that actually clashes with theist views. If God is the creator of everything, and I mean everything, including time, space, and immaterial truths, then there can't be a world where logic exists apart from him. Logic would have to either come from God or be part of eternal nature. So even if there were another world or planet, the laws of logic would still apply there because of God's sustaining nature, not in spite of it. If he says logic exists without God, basically putting logic above God, or next to him, as an independent eternal thing. That's a tough sell in classical theism, where only God is supposed to be eternal, necessary, and uncaused. What exactly is his argument for how logic can exist apart from God?
Yo, Logan, are you there?
Yeah, man. I'm just like breaking down because like you disagree with literally the theistic worldview.
I disagree with a theistic worldview. Even if 99% of theists believe in what you just use an AI for. If 99.99% believed in that, it really wouldn't matter because the definition of a theist is somebody who believes in a God. So I would still be a theist. I would just be a theist who disagrees with 99% of other theists.
Oh, okay.
That's all it means. That's not really like a critique or anything. If anything, that would be an appeal to popularity. That would be an appeal to popularity.
Do you have any evidence supporting your claim? Do you have any evidence supporting your claim that theists can believe that logic can't exist without God?
Do I have any evidence that somebody can believe the system that I hold to?
Do you have any evidence?
I'm an example. I hold to my own system. You could say the system's false, but you're asking for evidence that it's possible to hold to it.
What's the evidence for God? And I said, me. Is that evidence for God?
No, okay, repeat your question. Maybe I misunderstood it.
I said, what evidence do you have to support your claim that logic can exist without God as a theist?
Okay. So, what's it called? Your definition of logic was just the study of something that's objectively true, right?
Those words never came out of my mouth.
Yeah, you said the study of something true, and then I said, well, what are you defining as true? Like an objective truth? You said, yeah, that's on the stream. You said logic is just the study of something that's true. So I said,
I won't talk or anything. Pause your stream, right? And then make it again. I'm gonna watch that.
I'm gonna upload the whole thing. If you want, you could comment on my video, putting the time marks on what I said. I won't delete the comment. You can go. Once I upload this to my channel, I will send you the link, and then I will let you watch the whole thing and put the time marks of my contradictions with myself or whatever.
You disagree with everyone, including God. So I don't understand it.
I don't disagree with God. What?
Well, then how can logic exist without?
Yeah, I just told you. Okay. So
from your
definition on the stream, right? It's just the study of something true. That's all your definition of logic was. Do you still hold to that definition?
I said logic is the study of correct reasoning, but okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. We'll go with correct reasoning. Okay, cool. That works even better. So if logic is just the study of correct reason, right? And in World 2, if there is no God, but they come to the conclusion that gravity is real, gravity would objectively be true on Earth in World 2. And if they're studying something that with correct reasoning, and if they come to the conclusion, right, that gravity is real, then guess what? They just use logic even from your definition in World 2. That's my reasoning for how it can still be true of logic if there is no God in World 2.
What you're not understanding is God created gravity.
I understand that, but in World 2, in World 2, right? There's no theistic God in World 2.
We need something that doesn't exist without God to exist. Like that doesn't make no sense, bro.
Yeah, I'm okay with you presupposing stuff. I'm okay with that. But you're presupposing that God is absolutely
I'm not going to try to be
true,
rude to you, man. You
literally
just disagree with every single theist. And you're claiming
it wouldn't even if that was true, it wouldn't really matter even if that was true.
And your bio says preacher of Christ, Jesus saves. And I completely agree with that, man, but you literally disagree with Christ.
No, I don't, because I believe he's the person with God the Father, God the Spirit, including himself, God the Son, that caused logic. I don't disagree with that.
Oh, so he causes logic, right? He's logic. But without him, logic can't exist.
Yeah. No, there's a possibility that it could still exist. There's a possibility. I disagree with you that he caused it. There's a possibility
that I'll get out of my bed tomorrow and fly up in the stratosphere, but the evidence does not support that claim.
The evidence.
That's your whole argument.
I'm
just gonna go play.
Yeah. You're gonna leave.
Yes, because your argument is a lot.
You haven't critiqued anything. Your whole critiques have been you disagree with 99% theists, and I told you that's an appeal to popularity fallacy. If that's your whole argument, do you have any other argument besides that? Because I already showed you that I'm still a theist, even from the theistic definition. Theist just means a person with a God who believes in a God, or multiple gods. Right? I believe in a God, so I'm still a theist. Your whole critique of this whole discussion has been, oh, but you disagree with most theists because I have like a rare view. Right? But that's not really a critique, so I'm going to ask you again. Do you have a critique of my system?
All I'm saying, man, is you can argue that logic can't exist without God, but from a theistic worldview, especially Orthodox perspectives, logic ultimately requires God to exist objectively, immutably.
If God is real.
Just like gravity or moral laws, for example. But from an atheist point of view, logic is seen as a human discovery of abstract relationships. It's not created, but it just exists. So I'm going to guess you sway with the atheist worldview on logic.
I'm going to what?
I said I'm just gonna guess that you sway with the atheist worldview on logic.
I don't.
So you sway with the theist worldview on logic.
Define the theist worldview on logic first.
Logic can't exist without a logic giver.
That's the theist or the non-theist?
The theist.
You said can't or can?
Cancer. What?
No, I said, did you say can't, like cannot, or can?
All I'm saying, man, this is my key argument, okay? If logic is immaterial, universal, and unchanging, then it is most reasonable. It comes by an immaterial, universal, unchanging mind named God. And you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that. I actually agree with what you said. It's the most probable reason to believe. God is the most probable reason to believe in the cause of the universe. I agree with you on that.
All I'm saying is in a philosophical worldview, man, logic can't exist without God. From a theistic worldview, your worldview.
Yeah, if I believe that God exists, right, and I believe God caused logic, right? If I believe that God is real and that He caused logic, I don't disagree that He caused logic. But if I say that if someone was to grant that God isn't real, then that would mean that logic still exists. It's just not caused by the Christian God. That's all it means. It would still exist. It just wouldn't be caused by the Christian God.
See, I don't like debates that use a bunch of ifs, buts, and maybes, but alright.
There's nothing wrong with me like saying us or if someone grants, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you said it was wrong, but I'm just letting you know.
All I'm saying is from a theistic worldview, which is what you are, you can't believe that logic exists without God.
That's not true. All I have to believe is that God causes logic. That's all I have to believe.
Dude, I really hope that dude that's watching your film just looks this shit up and comments on it. Be like, actually hilarious to me.
I actually wouldn't if this stream was to get multiple views, which it probably won't. I'm just really gonna upload it from the channel so I can watch when I motor, right? If this was to get blow up or something like that, and then every single person on Xbox was commenting saying I'm wrong in this, to me it wouldn't really really fully matter to me.
Yeah, I'm open-minded, man. So it.
No, I'm open-minded too. I'm just not convinced of your critiques. Your critiques have just been an appeal to popularity. You haven't actually given me a critique for the world too. You're just saying, oh, but nobody believes that. That's your whole critique of my view.
You're saying if something that exists, right, that is created by God, without that creator, right? For example, you're saying, well, gravity, right, which is created by God, and logic, which is created by God, exists in a world without God. How does that make sense, bro?
Yeah, because it would mean that thing, right? That thing, reality would still exist. Reality would still exist. It just wouldn't be caused by the Christian God. It would be caused by something we don't know. Right? That's all it means. And if that's the case, that will mean that reality still exists. And if there are people in reality, right, who are studying things with correct reasoning, that would mean that logic exists. That's all it would mean.
Okay.
It wouldn't mean what you're saying. So yeah. So what's the problem with the thing I just gave? Hello? Hello?
Sorry, man. But listen, all I'm asking, man, is why is logic always true?
All your what?
Why is logic always true?
Define always true, like why it's objectively real.
Why it's always objectively correct?
What do you mean by it's objectively correct? What does that mean? That it's true? That it exists? Is that what you're asking?
Everybody in the entirety of the world believes it's true. Why?
What do you mean by it's true? That it exists? I don't know what you mean by it's true.
I've never met a man that doesn't know what true means.
Okay, but just answer you should, like, if you know your view, you should be able to answer my question. What do you mean by it's objectively true? Like that it exists?
Let me ask you a question. Do you know what objectively true means?
I do, but in what sense? When people say objectively true, they just mean that it exists. Like, what are you defining objectively true as?
Hey, man. All I'm saying is you don't agree with the theist worldview.
I understand that, but can you tell me what you mean by objectively true? Because you haven't really told me what you mean by that.
Man, you've been using the word the entire time and you don't even know what it means. That's fucking insane. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, even then, right? Even if I grant that, can you still tell me by what you mean by objectively true?
It's a fact. Spread it across the entire universe. So it's universally factual.
So when you say logic is objectively true, do you mean like a logical claim, or that it exists? Because
what?
Yeah, your definition of logic was just the study with correct reasoning, right? So when you ask me, is logic objectively true? That just means is logic.
It is objectively true. I don't think I asked you, is it objectively true? I think you asked me that, but okay. Continue. You don't even know what you're asking that is, bro. What the fuck?
Okay, just repeat to me your question then.
I don't have a question. You asked me something.
No, I didn't. You asked me the question. I was trying to answer, and I clarified by what do you mean by objectively true? Do you mean that it objectively exists, or do you mean that like a logical claim can be objectively real? I gave you like.
All I'm saying is it's true regardless, like even without someone's personal feelings or opinions or interpretations, it's true no matter what.
What's true no matter what? Logic?
Yep.
So that you're just saying that it exists. That's all you're saying.
But all I'm asking you, right? In that world, right? How could something that's in this world, right? Logic is universal, right? And everybody believes logic is real, right? Everybody believes gravity is a fact.
It's gonna appeal to popularity, but okay.
But in that world too.
Yeah, in World 2, logic
everyone believes that.
In World 2,
logic universal.
In World 2, logic, right, is just a study of with correct reasoning from the definition that you gave, right? And if World 2, if they're studying something, right, with reasoning, right, and they come to like the gravity theory or something like that, right, that will mean that logic exists in World 2. Meaning that in World 1, God is the cause of logic. But if it's the case that the Christian God isn't real, that would just mean that logic exists, but it's just not the Christian God who caused it. It would be something else, or something we don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, is logic objectively true?
Yes.
Okay, because
Like when you say logic is objectively true, I'm just translating that as it's objectively real. Is that what you're asking me? Is logic objectively real? Yes, it is. Is that what you mean by objectively true? Is logic objectively true?
I'm pretty sure I gave you the definition of objectively true like 5 times, and you keep asking me, but I can give it to you again. It means something is factual or verifiable, regardless of a person's feelings, opinions, or interpretations. It's always true, no matter what.
Okay.
So, is logic objectively true?
Can you just tell me the distinction of is logic objectively real versus is logic objectively true? Because logic just means the study of reason, right?
Jesus Christ.
So that would
Lord,
just
Lord.
be a
I'm
logical
just trying to-
claim. But like, if you know what you're talking about, you should be able to give me the distinction of the statements is logic objectively true compared with is logic objectively real. So tell me the distinction between the two.
Okay,
If
tell
not,
me the difference between objectively
you-
real and
you-
objectively true.
you're just asking me a question back. Are they the same thing, or is there a distinction between the two?
No, you tell me. You're asking the question.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I don't know by what you mean. That's why I'm telling you to give me the distinction so I can know what you mean. I can't tell you what you're saying to me with the absolute confidence if I'm asking you to give me the distinction between what you're saying so I can understand. So statement 1 is logic objectively true, and then statement 2 is logic objectively real. Are you are the two?
You want me to answer?
No, that's the question you gave me was is logic objectively true. I'm asking you to give me the distinction between that statement and that statement so I can know what you're asking me. Because I don't understand by what you mean by is it objectively true.
I don't understand what you mean by it's objectively real.
That it exists. It exists objectively. Is that what you're saying when you ask me is logic objectively true? That it exists objectively. Is that what you're asking me?
No, it's objectively true, not objectively real.
Okay, so so tell me what you mean by tell me what does the question mean? Is logic objectively true? Please tell me what that means, because I don't even understand the question.
It's a claim that can be proven with evidence, brother. Like objectively true. Like it's logic or observation. So all I'm asking you is logic objectively true, and you're responding with another question. That's why I responded with a question. Because you haven't answered the question. Like a single question I've asked you haven't answered.
Okay, I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down. Okay. I'm gonna write this down and just repeat what you're telling to me.
Okay.
So logic is the study with correct reasoning, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
The study of correct reasoning, but yeah.
The study of correct reason. Okay. The study of correct reason is now I'm just gonna replace the word logic with just the definition of it. Is the study of correct reason true? Is that your question?
What?
Okay. So I took logic and I just replaced the word logic with your definition of what the word logic means. So is this what you're asking me? Is the study of correct reason true?
Is it objectively true?
Is the study of correct reason objectively true? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. Objectively true means universally true, correct?
Is that yeah? That's what that it always is. It always.
So on this
is the
world too,
case.
does everybody in the world believe that gravity is existing?
There are some people in our current world that don't think gravity exists. Like if you go on modern day debate, there is debates on if gravity exists. So.
But there's tons of evidence supporting the fact that gravity doesn't exist.
I understand that.
There's plenty of people that don't believe that Jesus exists.
I understand that, but you're asking me if other people believe. I'm telling you, like in our current worldview, so the World 1, me and you're in World 1. So in World 1, right? If you go on the modern day debate channel, there's like 20 debates on if gravity exists or if it's a hoax. Like there are some people arguing that it doesn't exist, right? So even in our worldview right now, me and you, we're both in World 1. Right? There are still people disagreeing that gravity is, it's not even a real thing. But in World 2, if I was to grant that, you know what, 95% people think that gravity is fake, and then 5% think it's real, right? Which that's an unrealistic number, but I'm just doing it for the sake
Can
of
I ask you a
the
question?
argument.
Let me ask you one final question, dude, please.
Yo,
Is logic just a human construct, or is it necessary and eternal? And if it's necessary, why?
is logic a human construct? Do you mean that it's like formally made by men? Like if I make a house, I'm putting
Yes.
things together?
Yes.
No, logic isn't a human construct, no.
Okay, so how in this world, too, can humans come up with logic?
It's because it's just something that's produced by the brain.
So it's not produced by God.
And world 2.
So
Remember,
logic
and
isn't
remember,
produced by
remember,
God.
in world 2, the Christian God doesn't exist in world 2, remember.
That's why I'm saying logic doesn't exist in world 2.
No, it would exist. It just wouldn't exist by the Christian God. It would just be caused by something that we don't know in world 2.
I mean, all I'm saying then is if logic is human-made, then it becomes subjective.
There's nothing wrong with that, even if it's subjective.
Well, then it would break your definition of logic. You said it's objectively true.
When you say subjective, are you referring to like a morality claim, or like a
Yeah,
logical
like,
claim?
Everybody believes something differently.
Oh, an example would be, okay, I'm gonna ask you this: is it logical for me to think purple is the best color in my opinion? Is that logical or is that non-logical?
Well, that's a subjective view.
I understand that, but is it logical? Yes or no?
Well, you're not using the study of logic at all. Do you know what logic means? Even though you just wrote it down.
No, but I will get to you on that. But can you please tell me the question? Is it logical or not that I say purple is the best color? Is that logical or not logical?
You're using a whole bunch of straw mans, brother, and I'm not even gonna try to.
I'm asking you a question. A straw man is something
It's a straw man.
that how is that a straw man? I'm not representing your view. I'm just asking you a question.
It detours from my view.
It doesn't matter if it detours from your view. A straw man is a misrepresentation of your view that I'm claiming. I'm not claiming anything about your view. All I'm asking you is the simple yes or no on if I say purple is my favorite color, is that logical or not logical?
What?
Yeah, I'm not representing your view at all when I ask this. I'm just asking you a simple question. If somebody tells you, hey, my favorite color is purple, is that a logical statement or an illogical statement?
It's not. I don't think it's a logical statement, but it's not proven. You know. So, like for example, we just define logic as universally true. So does everyone think that everyone thinks their favorite color is purple? Purple? No, because my favorite color is red. So therefore, it's not universally true. Is it proven that purple is the best color? No. Therefore, it's not universally true.
So
it's not
you're saying okay, but is it illogical?
Is it illogical?
Yeah.
It's not a logical statement. I just don't know what you mean by is it illogical.
Okay, if that person was to tell you that purple is the best color because, in my subjective opinion,
bro, it's just personal.
No,
it's personal.
Yeah, so it's subjective.
Yeah.
If they tell you that you can have favorite colors because it's subjective and nobody claims that a color is objectively true, that would be a logical statement of something subjective. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
You're gonna have to repeat your whole question.
I will. Okay. So if a person tells you, I'll just tell you myself. Okay. So my favorite color is purple, right? Your favorite color is red. These are subjective opinions that belong to the person. I am my own person. You're your own person.
It's not logical.
You have. Okay, but if I was to say that it's logical because me and you are not claiming an objective truth with the colors, all we're saying is that the colors just appeal to our life, right, or our eyes. Wait, is this you on another account? Did you include your audio? Wait, can you include your audio for the stream?
I already did. That's the second I joined your party.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So there can be logical, like there can be there like
Yeah.
do you think subjective morality like is logical? Like I want to ask you that. I think that would be better, something better to talk about.
Do I think what?
Do you think subjective morality is
No.
logical? No? Okay. Why do you think that subjective morality is illogical?
Because you just said logic is objectively true, and I did too.
Okay. Okay, so you know how so me and you are both Christians. This is gonna be really interesting. Okay. So me and you both believe that something is objectively wrong if it's a sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So if there's an 18-year-old dating a 50-year-old and a Christian says, I think that's wrong, that would be in their subjective view, right? And not an objective truth, correct?
I think murder is wrong. Yeah. That's an atheist?
No, that's not what I asked. I asked you, right? So me and you both agree that an objective moral truth, an objective moral wrong truth is just something that's a sin by God. Something that exists because it's a sin by God, right? And so, like for example, there are people who they think that it's wrong for an 18-year-old to date a 70-year-old, right?
No,
So
there's
that would
people that think a 13-year-old can date a 70-year-old.
sure, but that would be a subjective moral feeling. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Agree? Ooh, it's not a bad spawn.
Okay.
I'm liking this.
Now, I'm going to ask you, is there a contradiction with having a subjective moral feeling? As long as it's only within subjectivity and not
Well,
objectivity.
if it's subjective, then it's not logical. So, like, I don't get your point here. You're making you're doing a whole water dance around everything.
I'm not. Okay.
You really are. But alright.
So, subjective morals, what's it called? So, like, do you yourself have subjective morals?
Subjective morals.
Yeah, do you yourself have that?
Everything I believe is pretty objective, man.
But, like, is there any subjective morals that you can think that you have? That you can name?
Probably not.
Okay, well, I'll ask you something and we'll see. Okay. So, do you think an 18-year-old could date a 14-year-old? Would you say that's wrong subjectively?
It says in the Bible that you shouldn't do that. So,
Wait, where?
a man should not lie with a dom, which is a child. Pedophilia, Leviticus.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about laying down. I'm just talking about dating. I'm not talking about like no no physical stuff involved. I'm just talking about the aspect of they were in a relationship and that's it. So like, do you think it's subjectively wrong if an 18-year-old dates a like, I'll just say 15-year-old. If an 18-year-old dates a 15-year-old?
Yeah, it's a nice days. Man, I don't really want to be honest. Nothing against you, man. I just don't want to debate you anymore because you literally just disprove what it is to be a theist, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm gonna play Rust now.
Are
with my
you
girlfriend.
are you conceding? Well, actually no, never mind. I'll let you play with your girlfriend. All right, you can leave now. All right.
Ugh.
All right. Bye. Let's see.
Dude, what the fuck happened here?
Huh?
You stole my base?
All right.
Seems like they did.
All right. Well, bye. Jump shot. T.
You said, am I conceding? No, I'm not conceding. No, not that. I'm not gonna submit to your will, my man.
That's okay. You're gonna play with your girlfriend, like you said. All right. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
joining Thanks for allowing me to stream this. Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All I'm hoping for you, brother, is you go back and research this and then just see that your views don't align with what the Bible says nor theistic worldviews. So maybe you can either rethink what you're saying on here and spreading it to the people that you're trying to preach to,
Oh,
That's my whole point.
I don't even preach this worldview. You asked me that before the stream. You were pressing me.
Oh,
I joined your
oh,
group
so you
post
don't even
saying,
believe what you were saying. You just think you were just
no,
trying to fight
I
me on
do,
that.
I do
I
believe what
see.
I'm
I
saying.
got
I
you.
do know that's that I don't know if you heard me correctly. Maybe that's a trauma. I don't know, but I don't preach this view. I really don't even speak of this view. I joined your group post. Your group post said, "Join to debate me on any topic," and
It's just bringing a topic,
and I
but
got
you know, it says,
interested.
buddy, my post. If you went on your stream and showed them what my post said, then you're just lying again, bro.
I'm not
I
lying.
said my post says
You
debate me, bring a
17
topic
plus,
or
bring
do not
topic.
join.
Yeah, that's the same thing on debate me
You
on
didn't
on
bring
any
a
topic.
topic,
No, I'm gonna get to that. I commented on your
so you
group
shouldn't have
post.
joined.
Can you please let me talk? I commented on your group post saying I just want to listen. Like, I said I don't want. I just want to listen.
I don't read those, man.
And
I
then-
don't read that. I just invite you to the
I
party
mean,
and
I mean,
debate you.
I mean, even if that's the case, you invited me to the party. So even if you didn't read it, it really wouldn't matter. You invited me to the party, and I
And you
told you,
started debating there.
that's not true. I told you in the party, I really just want to listen, and then I said,
What's
hey,
that?
do you remember me?
Everyone that
And you
says that
said-
instantly talks
said
directly
no.
after.
Yeah, because you kept pressing on me. You kept saying, well, if you're going to be in this party, I want to have a discussion. I was like, okay. And then you asked me, well, what are your views? I said, okay, so I'm a Christian who believes in Oriental orthodoxy, right? I'm a conservative. I believe in objective morality and subjective morality. And then you asked
White
me,
supremacy.
what are my views on logic, right? And then we talked about that. And then you asked me, is there a justification for logic? And I said, yeah, it was God. And then you said, do you think it's possible for there to be something else? And then me and you got into this whole conversation. And then me and you were talking about this. And then I said, wait, this is a good conversation. Let me stream this. And then I went to the restroom, and then I got my Twitch ready, and then I streamed it, and then here we are.
So let me ask
no,
you a
I don't
question.
preach my
You
views. You just pressed me on my view because you asked about it.
You're saying now that you think that logic can't exist without God. No, let's just go back to the original question, and after you
Wait,
answer
time
it,
out. Are we
I'll
getting?
leave.
Wait, time out. No. You can't do that because you said that you were gonna leave. There's no point in me having this discussion with you if you're just gonna leave.
It's not a discussion; it's a question, just a singular question before I dip.
It's a loaded question. I'm not gonna answer any loaded question unless if it's in the topic.
Well,
of
you already
discussion.
answered that, I guess. You already answered it on the earlier party, so never mind then, I guess.
All right. Well. Anyways, you
Can
just
logic exist without God?
I'm not answering any loaded questions. If what's it called?
It's a simple.
If you're
it's a
gonna
simple
leave,
question.
you said we're no longer having a discussion. There's no point. Me and you were talking about how did this conversation got brought up. That's different from what is the
Logic
conversation
can't
about.
exist without God, brother. Have a good day.
He didn't even leave. He's still in the party. I would just leave myself. Hold on. Oh, I know this works if I just like kick him. Hold on. All right. All right. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Right? That was TWN space Logan. Right? And that was him on his other account. So I think this was a pretty good discussion. This is going to be my first discussion. Maybe I'll edit it. Maybe I won't. But I think I think me and him had a really good discussion, you know, and I appreciate you guys for listening. I'm pretty sure this will get 0 views, but honestly, it's okay because I'm going to watch this myself when I get older so I could listen to my younger self, right? The whole point of this channel is just so I could upload the stuff I like talking about only to myself because I want to listen to myself when I'm older, like, because I'm pretty young. I want to be like 30 and I'm like, hey, what did I used to do when I was younger? It's like, oh, I used to have discussions with people online when I was younger. And I want to be able to listen to some of those discussions to my older self. So that's really why I'm kind of streaming. Plus, I already kind of do this for entertainment. And plus, I like studying other views. So this kind of helps me in both senses, an emotional sense, and just a study of other things sense, which I'm not even sure what that would be. Right? But yeah, thanks. Shout out to him for allowing me to stream it. A lot of discussions I've had, people don't allow me to stream it, but he did, so I really grateful for that. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining the stream, which probably nobody did, but it's okay because I still have this. And how do I even end my stream? Give me a second. Wait. Okay, here it is. And yeah, thank you for joining. God bless.